Welcome to the Exam Lab, the site for test takers in English. I'm Simon. In today's video, we are going to talk about a small group of words. We could call them quantifiers. They're words which can go with uncountable nouns. So you know in English we have this continuing problem. Some nouns which are uncountable. So what do we actually do when we really want to make them plural? So that's the topic that we are going to discuss today. Let's jump right into it and take a look at the screen. And you can see that we have put up two words which you know very well. The word countable. A dictionary will show if the word is countable by putting a C next to it, or uncountable, it will put U for uncountable next to the word. So this difference, important difference, of course, you know it very well. What does it really mean? Well, it just means what it says. If I ask you, look through the window, how many cars can you see? How many students are there in your class? You will give me a number. I can see 5 cars. There are 23 students in my class. So that's fine. It's countable if you can put a number with it. When we come to the uncountable words in English, here are 3: weather, progress, advice. Right, what does that mean? Well, it means 2 very important things. The first one is that if the noun is uncountable, I cannot have 2 because I cannot count it, so it must be singular. So I could never say weather with an S. And the same point expressed in a different way, I cannot have 1, because if I could have 1, then I could have 2, and then I could make a plural. So it cannot be used with a or an, so we cannot say weather. Right, so we know that, and that's very, very important in English. But today's video we're talking about this. What do we do if you want to use this uncountable noun in a context which needs a plural or a singular? So you're not permitted to do it. So how do you get round the problem? How do we fix this problem in English when we're using an uncountable, but we need to make it countable? Let's look at our example here at the bottom. Before I went to Australia, my father gave me 3 something advice. So we can't say advices. Obviously, what we can say is pieces of advice, words of advice. So this is how we deal with it. We leave the word advice unchanged, but we put something else in front of it, which can be made a plural, which can go with the number 3. Look at the second example here. The weather forecast says that there will be a cold spell next week. So a spell is a period of time. A cold spell will be a period of days of cold weather. You can say a cold spell of weather, but it's not necessary to repeat of weather. And so this is how, again, you can talk about weather by using a unit, a cold spell, rather than being stuck with the problem of weather. So the video today is talking about this. How do we take the uncountable and turn it into a countable singular or a plural countable? Let's just return to the word advice, and we saw that we can say a word of advice, a piece of advice. Coal, something black which comes from underground, which you burn in your fire to keep warm, but it is a fossil fuel, so today it's not very environmentally friendly to burn coal, but the Chinese use a lot in their power stations. We use very, very little coal in the UK now. But there it is. Coal is uncountable. So you could say a piece of coal, of course, but we often use the word a lump, and a lump is an irregular shape. It's not a regular clear shape, but it's an irregular compact piece of something. Here's the word luck. I had a stroke of luck yesterday, or a piece of luck. So what are we doing when we have the uncountable word? We're going to put something in front of it with of to make it countable. Easily your best choice in English is a bit of. This is very easy to use and it goes with almost all the uncountables. You can try a piece of, it works pretty well. A bit of, as I say, even more general, but sometimes in English we have better options than a bit of something or a piece of something, and they will help you when you speak, when you write, because they look a little bit more advanced, a bit more idiomatic in English. So we're talking about here fighting or violence. At the moment, we are worried about fighting or violence between Russia and the Ukraine. And we might talk about an outbreak of violence, a short piece of violence, but we do not really say peace. So we say there has been an outbreak or several outbreaks of violence along the border between Ukraine and Russia. Here's the word laughter. You know laughter, ha ha ha. Many different words. All of these words here, peal, howl, hoot, gale, they all give us sound. They all give us a different sound in English. So same thing here. Here's thunder in the sky when you have a storm. You have the noise in the sky. If it's a short noise, we'd say a clap of thunder. If it is several noises which are connected together, we'd say a peal of thunder. So that's several connected noises. And if it's a low, continuous noise, we might say a rumble of thunder. So these are the sorts of words which native speakers have and they can use, because they can't say a piece of thunder. It doesn't work in English. So you're going to use one of these ones here. Weather we've already seen for a spell of. Okay, so let's now try a little quiz. I've got 6 sentences for you here, and one of these words goes in each of the spaces which is there. So if you want to stop your recording, stop your video, try to find the answers for these 6 questions, and when you're ready, we will go on and give you the answer. Good luck. Okay, so if you're back and you've joined us again, let's now see how you did. So let's look at number 1. I felt a pang of hunger and stopped at the cafe for a spot of lunch. So a pang is something you feel. You feel it in your body. It's a physical sensation. Here it's the feeling of being hungry. Pang is also used with guilt, remorse, regret. So it can be an emotion as well as an ordinary physical feeling. So you feel hungry and you stop at the cafe for a small piece of lunch. So a spot of lunch suggests that lunch is light. It's not a very full meal. Number 2, probably no problem for you here. My fish starter, the first course in the cafe, was good, but it needed a pinch of salt. A pinch is something you can hold in your fingers, probably between your thumb and your index finger. That's what you pinch. If you put pressure on, you can pinch something. And a pinch of salt, obviously a small amount of salt, which you put between your fingers. Number 3, for dessert, this is what the Americans would say. The British would probably say for pudding. I had a slice of apple tart. Again, you know slice, a slice of bread, a slice of toast, a slice of apple pie, that's okay. Probably something you can cut. You can cut with a knife if it's a slice of cheese. And a dollop of cream. You may not have seen the word dollop before. So dollop is again, it's a piece. All of these mean a bit or a piece. And it's really in the texture, a dollop. A dollop is somewhere between liquid and solid. It's not completely liquid, because then it couldn't be a dollop, and it's not completely hard because then it wouldn't move. So cream, jelly, any of these things here could be a dollop. My friend wasn't hungry. She'd recently had a bout of flu, an attack of flu, you get a bout of an illness which could be contagious, or it could be rheumatism, arthritis. It's something which affects you, an attack of a medical condition. Number 5, probably the strangest and most difficult word here. The waiter spoke no English, but I had a smattering of French. Smattering means a small amount of, and we often use it with your knowledge of a language. If you have a smattering of French, you have enough words in French to say please, thank you, no thank you, something else, basic French, not very much. A smattering is a knowledge of some words in a foreign language. And finally, number 6, okay, when the bill came, so this is the time to pay, and you see that your lunch in the cafe is rather expensive, I let out a howl of pain. So a howl is a noise that you make, and here you are finding the bill is very expensive and you are going to be paying for it and feeling a lot of pain as you make the payment. Good. So that's one method. You can try a bit of, or a piece of, or you can find these slightly more idiomatic words which are connected with certain kinds of noun. But there is actually a different technique as well, which sometimes works, and you must know it, that to make the singular or the plural form of the uncountable, you can take a completely different word. So here's a very difficult word in English, clothing. You know this word, clothing is uncountable. It's a way of referring to clothes, but you cannot say one clothing, two clothings, or something. That does not exist. So yes, you can say a piece of clothing, a bit of clothing, that's fine. But we actually have a special word in English, a garment, which means that. So much simpler to use a garment rather than a piece of clothing, which is long and slow. Same thing here, be careful with the word advertising. Advertising is the general activity, but what you see in a newspaper, so you can count this one here, is an advertisement. And British English, we stress the second syllable, advertisement. American English probably stress the third, advertisement. Again, if you don't want to say the complete word, you can have a shortened form, an advert, quite British, or an ad, very international. So that's countable, and obviously advertising is uncountable. And now this very, very important one here, travel. Okay, travel, we know it's an important word in English, it's uncountable, unfortunately. So every time you actually do take a bus, take a train, use your car, then you're going to have to talk about it, and you cannot say a travel, and you cannot really say a piece of travel or a bit of travel. It's just not something that we say. So what do? Okay, so we say these words here, a trip or a journey, but there is an important difference. The trip is when we consider the complete operation. You go somewhere and you return. You go and you come back. I made a weekend trip to Paris. A trip is not necessarily long. It could be a day trip to London, an evening trip to the theatre. It can be very short, but it means that you are considering the complete operation. You go and you return. A journey is you start in one place and you finish in a different place. So where you finish is different from where you start. So my example here, I made a weekend trip to Paris. The outward journey, this is the part from London to Paris, was slow. but the return journey to London from Paris to London was faster. Let's now take a look at the word homework. So homework is uncountable, as we know. You can say a piece of homework. I have 2 pieces of homework. That's good. You also have an alternative, which is the word an assignment. Again, used quite a lot in American English, a little bit more in American English than in British English, but it's good in any context. Then this word energy, okay, very important word, but again, real problem in English because we cannot say an energy. We've got to really try to find a different word here, an energy source. So look at my example. Wind and solar are important alternative energy sources. The word progress, we know, big word in English. You are making progress in English, I hope and I'm sure. But if you want to say what can you say? Well, if it's a bit of progress, a step forward, an improvement. If it's a significant bit of progress, then it's a breakthrough. So breakthrough means that there was an obstacle, there was something stopping you going forward, but you've now made a breakthrough. It could be that you're negotiating with another company. It could be that you're talking about the peace talks between Russia and NATO. Whatever it is, a breakthrough, a significant amount of progress. And finally, this word work, which we know very well. Work in general. I can't come out this evening. I have work to do, so it's uncountable. That's fine. But if you want to make it countable, rather than saying a piece of work, you can say a job, a task, etc. Good. So we've seen the different things that we can do. We can try a bit of or a piece of. We can try the more specialist vocabulary depending on the words which are there. And sometimes we can use a different word. All of those strategies will help you when you're dealing with uncountables. Final point as we go here, the word a bit of, followed by a countable noun, not an uncountable. This is idiomatic in English, and I think again it's quite typical of British English, maybe more typical of British English than English spoken in other English-speaking countries, because the British have this tendency to slightly reduce the application, the generality of what they're saying. You see the words it's used with, rather negative words here. We had a bit of a disaster in the kitchen last night. What we were cooking didn't work out, fell on the floor, I don't know. I feel a bit of an idiot. So what you're saying is, okay, I'm not very happy, I did something wrong, I made a mistake, and now I feel very stupid about it. And this last one is extremely British. I'm in a bit of a pickle. I am in a bit of a pickle. I'm in a difficult situation, etc. Good. So that's some advice there, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon.